Okay.
All right. Now we're ready to go. So I just want to welcome everybody here who's on the line. And give a little quick introduction to the issue that I think everybody or most people are here to talk about tonight. So WMGLD and its board, we've been discussing data centers in 2026. And really in a proactive way, given the increase in data center proposals and construction nationwide over the past year or two. We've discussed the need for a community-wide discussion on data centers, and we've also discussed policies and practices of other utilities around the country who are dealing with the same, this same issue. On July 2nd, WMGLD received outreach from a customer requesting information about our ability to serve their location if their load were to increase. WMGLD explained that we would need more specifics from them, and WMGLD has not heard back. Given this customer outreach, it makes sense to expedite the community-wide discussion about data centers. I'm going to recommend that the town council host this discussion and explicitly include boards such as, and not limited to, WMGLD, Permitting and Zoning, Health, and the Conservation Commission. I want to discuss this approach tonight with the board, WMGLD, and other interested stakeholders and solicit feedback. I will be requesting to move that item to the beginning of the agenda since many of you may want to listen in and participate. I will also follow up on processes that receive support tomorrow. While we work on the next steps, I'll keep the town informed if the customer follows up. And just a note that we will not discuss any specifics about the customer this evening since we don't have more information and because customer-specific discussions may need to occur in executive session. So those are my chair remarks. Are there any commissioners' reports?
Not for me.
No.
Well, the one report I have from the Environmental Sustainability Committee is curious about our EV showcasing. So I'm working with Tiana on that and wanting to know sort of if we can work together more aggressively or more interactively for that, because we're considering potentially working with another town. Because I think turnout has been not to what we would have liked. And so we're trying to find other creative ways to get people interested. So.
Would they be considering still doing it here or would they do it somewhere else?
We're unsure right now. I've been reaching out to Reading as well as Melrose to see what they've done to see if they'd be interested if we collaborate with them instead, or what they've done, because I know that in the past we've just done the EV event without sort of an addition with vendors. And I know that's really helpful. So I don't know if the timeline we have access to sort of collect all the vendors or, what other suggestions or ideas we could get to sort of incentivize that. So that's just on their side.
Okay. Thank you for that.
I have remarks if everyone else is.
Yep.
Finished.
Go ahead, Tom.
I wanted to extend congratulations to the department for another well-deserved award and recognition from the American Public Power Association, also known as the APA, for the demonstration of energy and efficiency development Energy Innovator Award, which was awarded at the APA conference in Boston this 2 weeks ago. It's just, again, a testament to all of the work of the staff there for the energy park and the collaboration with the schools. So once again, congratulations. And then we also had the honor to the rededication of the Burns substation to the Burns Park on Ballister Road. That was part of the Energy Park land swap. So that used to be a substation that the department had out on Ballister Road. We cleaned up the site, removed the substation, and have turned that into an absolutely wonderful parklet for the town and residents and everyone else to enjoy. So if you haven't had a chance to go check it out, I think there's pictures on the wall over there of it. I highly recommend folks go and check out that space. Because it's absolutely gorgeous.
Great. Yes, agreed. Okay, any other commissioners' reports? Okay. Do we know if our town council liaison is with us? Sean Chrisley. Just wanted to check because we have a list of people here.
Doesn't sound like it.
Can we type the name in?
We're just standing to see. John, if you're here, if you can also come off mute and raise and say something, that'd be great to help us out a lot.
I don't see them. I don't see John in the list.
Okay. Thank you for checking for us. So we don't have our town council liaison here, so we will continue on. So now we're in public comments. I am interested in how many people want to provide public comment. If you're in the room, you can raise your hand. If you're online, can you raise your hand as well so we can get a quick sense of who would like to make comment?
I would also like to mention if you are making public comment, you need to state your name and street number and street address that you live at as part of open meeting law.
Looks like we had one hand raised, or two.
They're coming up.
Mark, if you hit the participant button below, it shows the order.
The list, the full list.
Where?
Down below.
Bottom.
That's down where it says 46. Yeah, if you click on it, no, just click on the,
And the
There you go.
people?
yeah, so you got three hands.
Well, we have to scroll down a little bit too.
How do I raise my hand?
Yeah.
Well, you can raise your voice and tell us your name, then I can add you to the list.
I'm Steve Fantone. I live across the meadow in Linfield. I might actually abut this
Please state your
property.
full address.
385 Summer Street. I'm on the other side of the Saugus River. I work at the 107 Audubon Road Office Park. So I live on one side of the meadow and I work on the other. That's where I live and work. So
Thank you. Thank you. Hang on one second, okay? I'm just trying to get a full list and then we can get going. So I have 4 people. This does not preclude you from jumping in at the end. I'm just trying to get a sense for who's interested. So, okay, well, let's get going then. Why don't we start with Radha?
Do I need to click on her or what?
I think you need to.
She just needs to go off.
There we go. Yep,
She unmuted.
Hi, do you guys hear me?
we do.
Mhm.
Hi, my name is Rada Frolickstein, and I live in 9 Rochelle Drive, Wakefield, obviously. And I just wanted to quiet down or have some clarification of potential rumor, chatter, all that stuff that's going on online, or potential data center being proposed for Wakefield, or it's in a funnel to be proposed, or something is going on behind the scene that obviously are not yet public. I wanted to also find out whether that's what type of data centers, is there any particular location area, and so on. For me, concern is that I have researched and looked into all of the data centers that I could find and around the country and what impact those type of facility creates for the community and environment, increase electricity bills, the water, I mean, all sorts of things. And I feel that we as a residents would like to be more informed and have a little bit more transparency, whatever that is, big, good, bad, and ugly. If we are informed, we have a better chance to have a better dialogue and have a better solution for our community and for our town. So anybody could enlighten me any of that.
Thank you. Pete, are there any questions there that we can answer at this point?
Very few other than the fact that, as Jen stated to start the meeting, a customer asked us about their ability. So in greater context, we've been talking about large loads since the beginning of the year and developing a large load policy. We were reached out to, as Jen said, on July 2nd by a customer asking us if we had additional capacity. And we had a very generic conversation with that customer, and we can't reveal who that customer is. And we told them that they would have to formally ask us and spell out what they would need and what they're looking for. And we can't do anything other than wait for that potential response to come. We don't have anything other than that. The reason it was put on the agenda was to just inform the board that this had happened in context of the larger conversation that we had already been having. And so the fact that it's even being called a data center is premature. We've been asked by a customer what capacity we could have for them. It could be a data center, it could be anything else. It hasn't gotten that specific yet. So again, we don't have any additional information to share at this time, and we can't share name or location of the customer because that would be violating customer privilege.
Okay, we don't have to share that. What about what type of customer is that? What type of facility do they build? This is that's something that can indicate what direction they're trying. And I am sure that some of you may, I know you cannot disclose it, but if a type of a customer requesting some information, we all can tell what type of facility do they build.
Exactly. That's the reason we can't share it right now.
But you don't have to share the name, but what type of facilities that they build. That
Yeah.
this is the customer. These are the customers who are building schools, who are building data centers, who are building storage, iCloud type of a centers, building AI type of a facility data centers. I mean, it's something along the line of way that we could have an idea of what type of a customer and how interested are you to accommodate that customer?
It's premature to have any of that conversation.
And when would we know more information once you have it? Would you promise us that you will be transparent and let us know on different stages? Because what we don't want, something to be already in works, promised already, and then all of a sudden the public is served as well, they have a right, this is what needs to be done, and we're going to be stuck for something that may not be good for our community. Would you promise to the community and all of us to be transparent about that project or possibility or project that may not never come?
The project may never come, and so
Right.
it's hard to be specific at this point.
Okay,
However,
but would you promise
I do-
transparency in the future? Well, I understand now, but would you promise us to be transparent and pass information to the public as you have it?
The information that we can share, we will share, as judged by the fact that I put this on the agenda tonight to share this information with the board at a very preliminary stage. I didn't realize it was going to blow up this badly. However, again, Jen has made an excellent recommendation, which is that we have a public hearing with all the group, our public information sharing session with all the affected parties, and that we allow everybody to voice whatever their concern is. So
Do we have a permit for do we have a
we have nothing
bylaw?
at this point.
No, but do we have a bylaws that actually allows them to have that, heavy load or whatever you call it? Do they have a right to do whatever they want to do once they have a land secured?
I think that we can just speak to what we've been talking about at previous board meetings this year, which is because, as you probably read in the paper and just in the news, large loads are coming, and it's a big conversation. I mean, the current, Trump administration is, one of their goals is speed to power, AI, and large loads, transmission to serve these customers. And so that's been a lot of the discussion that we have been having. And I think right now, at this point, the board knows that this is coming. And so what we're trying to do is be prepared so that when we do get a customer request, we're not in a position where we're scrambling. We
Well, we
have a
could-
policy in place, and some of that is making sure that ratepayers are not negatively impacted, that there are benefits for the community. If there is, these are the things that we're discussing so that if and when they do come, we're prepared to deal with these so that we're not in a negative position. So it's more about preventative.
Maybe we should send a letter to Trump administration. He has a lot of golf courses, facilities, huge amount of land. He can build those data center on one of these golf courses, not come into a little Wakefield town. And I would close this and allow other people to participate.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I
Thank
just
you,
wanted
Rhonda.
to get some clarification. This is the large load. So this would be an improvement to the power lines across
Please,
Reedy Meadow.
sir, you need to state your name and address.
Oh,
in
sorry.
order
I
to
still haven't
speak.
figured out how to raise my hand yet. So I'm Steve Fantone. I live at 385 Summer Street in Linfield. I work at 107 Audubon Road in Wakefield. I just wanted some clarification. This would be a change to the power lines that go across Reedy Meadow. Are these the power lines we're talking about that would carry that large load?
Again, the conversation that we're having is incredibly premature. Those lines that you're talking about that go across Reedy Meadow are actually 115 kV transmission lines. I don't envision any changes to those at this point. And so it's very premature to even have a conversation about that. But the reality is that we don't know because we haven't received a formal request.
Okay, because I'm here because I'm concerned about Reedy Meadow and the environment around it, because it's my hobby to take pictures there, and I like walking and hiking in the area. And I am a board member of the Saugus River Watershed Council. So it's important to me to keep that area healthy for everyone to enjoy.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Can I add something? Because it might
Sure.
help with some of the conversations that are taking place. How many of you that are participating in this call are aware that we used to have a data center in town? Okay.
I'm seeing some hands.
That's good, because I mean, while there's a lot of things negatively and positively being talked about data centers, I think Sharon shared that we are thinking about all of it holistically, and we're not taking them for granted. We are reviewing and we are looking into what policies we need to set up in order to be able to serve not just data centers, but large loads in particular, and what the impact that those large loads would have to Wakefield, to the community, to the system, to the electric system, as well as the environment as well.
I've
Yeah,
been on,
I agree with,
I want to keep us in comment mode.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
But then
Yeah,
discussion.
maybe,
But I want.
Commissioner Clay, we take all the comments and then we address all of them at the end.
Well, I want to answer questions as they come up, but we
Okay.
also want to move through the list to give everybody a chance to speak. So thank you to folks that have gone, and yeah, let's keep moving because we want to be able to get to these. So Sue, please.
And do we want to limit the time or?
Yeah, I think we need,
Let's keep going.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Sue Kasoy. Can everybody hear me and stuff?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Sue Kasoy. I live at 9 Collins Road. First of all, it's not okay. First of all, it is silly to talk about something like this before we know what's going on. Second, we have to, forgive me, but we have to consider the larger considerations of this. First of all, yes, I mean, Wakefield is supposed to be this like little community and stuff like that. What does it mean for a large entity of a major of an increased load on our grid? Not only what does that mean now, but what precedent does it set? We are not going to we're not going if this happens, what happens next? If we don't know who is doing this, what's next? An ice, I mean, an ice data facility? All we know is that something really big is going to be here and they need a lot of energy. And again, in this day and age, we not only have to consider what is definitely going on in the electric load, but also what is going on with our people. Do we understand that this is going to change the nature of Wakefield's forever? Do we understand that if it's a slippery slope? Do we understand if we let one facility have a big load, the next facility is going to come in and say, well, you've got that. You've got this big facility. And the thing is that what is it going to do for the community? Yes, there is going to be an update, an increase in the electrical structure. But why can't we do that anyway? We don't need a mystery facility coming into our area that we don't know what it is. We don't know where it's going. We don't know. The idea is we, as a community, have to decide where we are going.
Yes, I completely agree with you, which is why I suggested the community-wide discussion. I think those are great points. Thank you so much.
I'm not done. I am sure that I have missed whether there is a zoning restriction. Like I said, where is this happening and is there a zoning restriction? Where is this happening and how close is this going to be to downtown? How much is this going to enter our community? The benefits of this facility, if it's just jobs, what kind of jobs are those? If it's like, what do we have to accept when we are accepting a large, unknown facility? What's to say the next one isn't an Amazon warehouse? What's to say the next one is not an ice facility? What is to say that this is not setting a precedent? I understand that I am sure there is going to be that I am not speaking in a specific sense, but that is because we have to consider the future of the community. And believe me, I am not a flag waving, woohoo, community little, keep it. But do we want to industrialize? Because that's what it comes down to. Okay, I'll finish up in that. The direct question I'm saying is, do we know where they want to build? What is the zoning in this facility? And I'm sure there will be more transparency as to what kind of facility this is. Because honestly, if this turns into one of the data centers that is sucking up our water and sucking up our electricity, there's going to be a hell of a protest. Do we want that? Do we want a fait accompli? We do not. So please, at least, if you cannot tell us where this thing is going to be located, please tell us. We have a right to know what is the zoning in this area before we say, no, this mystery big box can move in. Thank you.
I'd like to take that for just a moment. Taking a large step back, before any facility gets any sort of utility, whether that be electric or gas, it needs to pass all of the town building codes, zoning, multiple bodies before it even comes to us to
So
be
we have
connected.
no idea where actually this is going
Hold
to
on, I'm
be?
speaking. Please stop.
I'm sorry.
Do not interrupt me, please. We don't know because that is confidential customer information at this point. We as commissioners do not even know who this customer is. They have just simply made a request of the utility of whatever our available capacity is. With that said, at the beginning of the year, I started a discussion with the board and the utility around crafting policy around large load. Large load could include data centers. As part of that policy and that policy work that we are doing, my goal is to make sure that our ratepayers are all protected, that any sort of large load does not impact ratepayers, is mutually beneficial to the department, that helps the grid. So these are all things that we are considering and working on.
Why can't we increase the grid without? I mean, if you got the money to increase the grid, we don't need a place. Increase the grid by itself.
I mean, we do the electrical load naturally increases as people add electronics and all sorts of stuff. So there's always things happening there. And then to also put into context of large load, our approximate capacity, is double-digit megawatts, 20 to 30 megawatts of available. That is not a large data center. For example, there is a data center out in Holyoke that is about 15 megawatts. The data center that was at the head of the lake, Pete, keep me honest here, that was 10. They requested 10, but we're only using approximately 5.
We're using 5 and they requested 16.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
With that all said, we as a commission, and I myself personally, will be working on policy to ensure that any sort of large load, we don't know what that large load is. It could be manufacturing, it could be, I don't know. The customer has not told us yet. And when they do tell us, it will go through all the proper, zoning for the town. There is, zoning that the town, there are a lot of processes that need to happen before it even comes to us as utility. The utility will work with the town and the customer to make sure that all of these things are in place.
Thank you, Tom. I want to keep this moving. Eric, you're next on the list.
Hi, folks. Eric Wages. I live at 22 Warren Avenue. So first off, thanks for putting this on the agenda. Data centers are near and dear to my heart, whether I like it or not. My entire career has been in this space. I will offer my expertise and feedback for anyone that wants to talk more about data centers. I built and ran Google's 3rd largest campus for the better part of a decade. And so now I've been residing here in Wakefield for over 6 years. The question I have is, what actually is Wakefield? I mean, we don't generate natively here, but what is actually what we consider Wakefield's current electrical consumption in total capacity? Is it on the order of 50 megawatts, give or take? Is that what I heard from Thomas?
Pete, can you answer that for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. And spare capacity is on the order of five-ish megawatts. Is that what I heard?
No, there's much more than that. It depends on, again, it's premature to discuss, but it also depends on where in town this load would be. And so therefore, without specifics, the process that would happen is if we have asked this customer to get back to us with a formal request, spelling out what they are looking for, then we will study that and determine what our capability or what our ability to serve is based on all the factors that you're aware of in terms of, excess capacity, in that region of town. So there's a lot to be considered, but none of this will happen until they reach out to us formally and make a request for what it is they're exactly looking for. Then we can study that load and determine its impacts on the system.
Sure.
At the same time, it's not going to happen without going through all the other town processes that would have to take place. I think the one thing that I'm sure a lot of people are going to repeat the same argument, and I think what we need to do is make sure that people realize just because tonight we can't share the information about who this customer is, nothing will come to Wakefield without going through all the permitting processes that they would have to do at that time. I can't share the information right now, but they're not going to get a data center or a large load built without going through zoning, planning, conscom, water, sewer, like whatever it affects in our town, they're going to have to go through all the processes. There is no data center that's going to show up at the end, at the end of the year without a whole litany of processes that they will have to go through. We are one of those. Our
Of
ability
course.
to serve will be based on where they are and what they're asking for.
I appreciate that. What I just want to mention, just one comment for the community at large, right? Again, my experience is these facilities, and literally I was helping build one last year. The scale of the facilities that these built, Wakefield cannot service them. Like literally, capacity doesn't exist. Every single client I talk to, it's 200 megawatts or bust, and that's one building. So if we're saying that we use 50 megawatts right now in Wakefield, and we're saying that in theory is that people are talking about whether or not we're going to get one of these large hyperscaler facilities, not the ones I'm familiar with. So I think if anything, a large load would be much smaller than what people's image might be of what these other facilities are. That said, there is a discussion about how data centers at large show up in communities and water usage and electrical usage and everything else. My one last comment I would say is just to reiterate, I'm a resource. I'm offering my time to help the community at large here, whether it's anyone that's on this call listening as a citizen or anyone on the board here that needs to talk about working with hyperscalers or any other data center firms. Literally, it's been my entire career. So I offer that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you.
James, you are next on the list.
Hi, my name is James Cerrone. I live at 33 Oak Street, Wakefield. I guess my question, and this is something that you guys can actually hopefully answer at this point of time, because I know there's not much information. It's very preliminary. You guys mentioned that you had been talking about large loads for about a year prior to getting contacted by this potential customer, and this potential customer hasn't given a lot of information yet. But it's my understanding that in this day and age, when you say large load, especially in the context of like a suburban community, there's really not a whole lot except for a data center that means. So I'm wondering, like, what else could that mean? I mean, are there other reasonable things that we might expect might be that large load other than a data center?
James, thanks for the question. So from my experience, it could be a bus EV charging depot. And we're talking 15, 20 megawatts at pop for any of those type of facilities.
It could be a manufacturer of some sort.
Pete, what was our large rate? We have a manufacturer that has left town. We consider them a large load.
Yeah,
what was their usage?
Their load was about 5 megawatts.
Right. So that was my understanding that the Smurfit West Rock plant was pretty low megawattage, and I know that like some of these like EV chargers are maybe hovering around like two megawatts or something like that. And so any like single large load would be like a really immediate, like huge jump in capacity that this town hasn't necessarily had to deal with before, which is a concern. I'm also wondering if anybody knows what the megawattage of the Lowell facility is, because I know we're not talking about like a 200 megawatt thing, whatever it is, but there is one in Lowell that has been pretty detrimental to the community, and that can't be any more than like 30. I don't know.
I don't have that. We don't have that information right now, but there are articles about the Lowell facility online, that we can look for it and get back to you, unless Tom, you're finding it.
I can tell you that The Markley Lowell data center is now over 50 megawatts. So we would not have a facility like that because we just don't have that sort of capacity. And yeah, maybe Commissioner Prifty has more, but information on that. But the public numbers show that it is 50 megawatts plus.
It is important to say, though, that while we've been talking about large loads generically, we have not defined the term large load for Wakefield yet and what that threshold would be.
Yeah.
So that's part of defining the policy and identifying what that group looks like.
I will say that ISO New England is also tackling this issue, and they preliminarily have defined it as 20 megawatts. So if any load that were to come into town was greater than 20 megawatts, it would require a full ISO study as well. So that is, one possible definition of a large load, that if it was greater than 20 megawatts, it would require an ISO study. So not just what Wakefield could serve, but what the upstream transmission system could handle. And so that's a consideration that everybody should keep in mind, that again, this thing does not happen overnight or in a vacuum.
Okay, I want to keep us moving, and I see some hands might have dropped off, but Bronwyn, I don't think you've spoken yet, so we're going to go to you next.
Hi, thank you. Bronwyn Della Volpe, 8 Cyrus Street. And just a note, those of you in the conference room, we cannot see who is speaking. So if you could please identify yourselves before you answer questions, that would be really helpful to us so that we know who's answering our questions. Okay, my first question is, do you know the load or the approximate load that is likely to be required by this project?
No.
Okay. All right.
Pete Dyer, no.
Thank you. All right. Do you know whether or not this potential project would require a special permit?
I'm not familiar with the permitting side, but my guess would be there would be permitting involved of some sort. I'm not an expert on the permitting side.
Okay. Who oversees the large load developments on a local and state level? In other words, who is the entity who's responsible for accepting the concept of having a data center in town?
So quickly, towns have established moratoriums to prevent data centers from coming in. So a town or a state can establish a moratorium, either temporary or permanent.
Okay, but we don't have a moratorium right now. So with the existing entities right now, who would be responsible for making that decision?
I would say that would be zoning first, right? The area needs to have the appropriate zoning. It would have to have, pass a building, the building department would need to, they need to pull a permit. It'd have to be approved by that. So I would say, it is with other town entities that would approve a building. So this would be like any other business, right? The process of building something in town, it would follow those same processes. And then if, it needs some sort of variance, it would, you're familiar with that, going to, the ZBA. If it had any impact to any sort of environmentally sensitive areas, the Conservation Commission.
Sure.
So it would follow, like any other building project, it would need to follow that.
Well, I too am very interested in the zoning and have looked at our zoning charts, and I'm not sure under what category something like this would come.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be pure speculation on my part,
okay.
But it'd probably be under commercial industrial.
Okay, so my next question would be, would a mixed use development be considered a large load project for, say, something like Market Street, for instance? Would that be considered a large load project?
It could be.
So it's Commissioner Prifty. I mean, as Jen said, we
Who's
haven't.
speaking, please? Who's speaking?
Commissioner Prifty.
Thank you.
So as Jen stated earlier, we have not defined here at Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department what a large load from a number of megawatt perspective would equate to. So to your question in regards to a similar mixed-use facility like Market Street, depending on the threshold that we set, it could become a large load facility.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. I just have a couple more questions. When do you, can you take a wild guess at when do you anticipate being able to release more information? In other words, at what point in this process can you go, public with the whole thing?
Couldn't tell you because I don't know when or if they're going to get back to us.
I would like to comment because I have definitely, been asking too about what are.
Who's speaking, please?
Lely. This is Lely, Commissioner Lely. I have
Thank
been
you.
asking about what our load capacity is, what our projections would be for a large load. And it was my understanding that it would be potentially, or maybe I'm not, understanding this, but it would be 20 to 50 megawatts.
Or more.
Yeah. But currently, in that range.
So are you saying by definition what we would call a large load or what our capacity is to serve?
What I've asked is really trying to understand what is their current capacity and is it 20 to 30 and also what the upgrades to our system would have to be for that.
It is hugely dependent on where the request would come from in terms of this part of town. Yeah, the location matters a lot. So to say any more than that is hard to say, but the reality is that we have two different substations and there's more capacity on one side of town than there is on the other side.
Thank you. When did the customer first come to you? I mean, about when were you first made aware of this potential development?
July 2nd.
I'm sorry?
July 2nd.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it was that recent. And how long has the customer owned the property? Do you know?
I can't answer that question.
Because you won't or you can't. You don't have that information.
I cannot share any customer information.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And I do have to thank you for taking this out of executive session and putting it in front of the public. And I certainly hope that approach continues throughout the process. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bronwyn. I've been seeing hands physically raised, and I want to call on people that have not spoken yet. So I'm going to call on Brendan.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for, Brendan Higgins, 40 Brewster Road. Want to thank everybody for answering the questions. I just have two questions. Thomas, thanks for the information that you had provided earlier. I guess when you mentioned crafting policy in terms of data centers with Wakefield, would that policy be created before any potential sale? Because I think there's a concern of that, obviously zoning, all these things have to go through. But I think generally the concern is that we're not aligned on our policy for this. And I've seen other states where data centers have gotten built because they haven't had, the policy has not been crafted, right? So I guess Thomas, could you just expand on that a little bit?
The department and the commission are actively creating the policy. I mean, I don't even know if this property is up for sale. Like that is not information that we have. So I can't answer whether or not we would have that. What I can say, that we as a commission and I myself, and I'll speak personally for myself, have the best interest of the town, the ratepayers, and personally the environment. These are all things that are near and dear to us, and this is why we do this, and we will craft the policies that are best for the town with input from the public. We welcome all of the input there, so we may not think of everything.
Okay. Thank you. My other question is just in terms of zoning that we talked about, and again, I understand that the person has not gotten back to you guys. They may never. So I appreciate you guys at least entertaining these questions, but it really has gotten a lot of people thinking of, wow, could that actually happen in Wakefield? Having something like that happen. If it came down to it, let's just say a data center, sale is going to potentially happen. Aside from zoning, everything has to go through all the process. At the end of the day, if the majority of residents do not want a data center in Wakefield, is there a check and balance to stop that, even if, say, this, data center, again, it may not be, passes all zoning and everything like that? I think that's the thing that I'm not hearing is, overall, do we have a vote in this if it ever did happen, if we ever got that far?
Yeah, I mean, this is Jennifer Calais. My understanding is a data center moratorium that the town votes on or town council enacts would trump all of the allowances that could have been made by permitting or us or any other board individually.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'll just add to that, short of a moratorium, if a business, whatever that, or entity that comes forth that they have passed, all the zoning, have a building permit and, meet our policies, electrical code, we basically have to connect them to the grid. And so we're not if they've met all those things that come all before us, that would be something that we basically have to connect them to.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, I've been seeing Stephen's hand up for a while. Let's go to him next.
Hi, thank you. Steve Fantone. I live at 385 Summer Street in Linfield, and I work at 107 Audubon Road in Wakefield. Is there any cooling or wastewater that would be associated with this large load of energy? I'm concerned about the wastewater getting dumped into the Reedy Meadow or the Saugus River and just ruining the natural habitat for the native creatures that live there because it just warms it up.
We don't know. The customer has not given us any specifics. So we might not even be we don't know what we're talking about because we don't know.
So this is Commissioner Prifty. I mean, you're talking to the gas and light department. Some of the questions that are being raised here should be going to the town or the town council or any of the town boards, because we're not the experts in water or sewer. We're the experts on gas and electric.
But again, this is Pete Dye, the general manager. Again, none of this would happen without having to go through all those processes in advance. So it's not going to show up overnight. If they were going to bring a facility that used water or created a lot of wastewater, they would have to go through the water department to make that happen. And so there is whatever would need to happen at that side with their permitting process. So we're only the gas and light. We got one question and I wanted to share with the board because it was timely, but we're a tiny piece of the overall process.
Thank you.
I had a question, Thomas West,
yes.
15
Thomas,
Morgan Ave in Wakefield.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for bringing this to the group's attention so quickly and for tolerating and answering to the best of your ability all of these questions, since you're unfortunately just the first people to get them, knowing how big this process is. If there was to be a negotiated contract, as we've seen in other places, for a large load payer to either pay for infrastructure upgrades or to help subsidize affected ratepayers, who would negotiate a contract like that? Is that something that you guys would negotiate, or is that something that would come at the town council level? How would that get approved?
Are you talking just about the electric requirements, or are you talking about the overall requirements? Because
I don't know if that would be one contract that includes it all, or if there would be separate contracts. But say somebody was going to pay to improve the substation to increase capacity because they were the MBTA wanted to put a bus depot there and they wanted more, how would that negotiated contract work?
That would be through the light department.
Okay. That would be
Anything
through
to
you
do
guys.
with the load portion of it, the load serving requirements would be directly through us.
And that would be a public process in the same way these kind of meetings are held, where discussions on that would be held, or how would that negotiation work and final approval?
If there was a contract signed, it would be reviewed with the board, you know. I think one of the things that we have been very adamant about since we started talking about this 6 months ago is the fact that no matter what happens in any of these venues, the ratepayers cannot be harmed. So as part of a contract, we would have to include the fact that there is no direct or indirect harm to the ratepayers. For example, one of the things that is that we are currently 58% non-carbon emitting. If we had a large load, that 58% would be hugely diluted. So therefore, if we were to bring in a large load, we would have to make sure that the carbon footprint that Wakefield currently has of 58% was not diminished in any way. So therefore, we would have to work out a power supply agreement somehow that brought in additional green power to serve them, not just any grid power. So we can't negatively impact the ratepayers of Wakefield that have already worked hard to get us to 58% on our way to 75%, on our way to 100%. A large load would dilute that. So we have to make sure that there would be a power supply contract in place that we can negotiate through MWEC or however we want to do it, to make sure that the power supply agreement that we have does not dilute the Wakefield ratepayer.
Awesome. Thank you for the information.
One other thing, that I've been discussing with the department as well. I'll use the example of a data center. Data centers require backup power. As part of that, generally those are, diesel or gas-fired generators. That's, as part of our policy, I'd like to see that, instead of just a backup generator, doing something more like the energy park that we just put in place for the schools, where that would have mutual benefits to the customer and the grid and the utility to keep costs down, and to reduce the need for carbon emitting sources. So that's, combining battery with solar, and then some sort of, in Wakefield, I'd like to see that not be diesel, but we make a requirement from a policy perspective that be natural gas fed. So things like that we have been talking about since the beginning of this year.
Thank you.
Last
Joe.
question is is there an expectation on when a draft of that policy might be available that you guys are working on? Is that something, if we came to the last meeting of the year, we would get an update on, or I don't know if you guys have a timeline yet for one?
Hi. I'd like to know, because the thing is,
Hang on one second. I want to answer that question before we jump on.
Absolutely.
Hang on one second. I do not believe we have a formal time frame for that at this moment in time.
If the customer comes back and requests more information, we would probably accelerate the process of developing that policy. But right now, again, this was all generated by a phone call a couple of weeks ago, and that's about it's generated a lot of interest, that's for sure. But I think it's still a little premature to give timelines on anything because we don't know.
Okay.
And this is Commissioner Prifty, just quickly, and in addition to what Pete and Jen said, even outside in the industry, there aren't that many policies discussing large loads and how others are handling them, whether they're municipals or investor-owned utilities. So we have been looking outside and trying to benchmark how we could be aligning our policy to what others are doing, but there isn't much out there in the industry right now at this moment.
This is Lily. I'd just like to comment, having gone to the American Public Power Association and going to all the conferences that were occurring, one of the most and the largest important aspect of it was ensuring a strong policy. And I really do push for this committee to create one as soon as possible. that ensures, transparency and clarity to our community, as well as for the direction of how we want our utility system to be run. Thank you, Lily.
Okay, I do.
1 second, Sue. I apologize, but
I apologize.
Joe has not yet had the opportunity, I believe, to comment at all. So I would like to entertain first-time commenters, and then we'll go to second-time commenters.
Thank you. My
Thank
name
you.
is Joe Marini, 11 Spalding Street. My biggest thing is implementing a temporary moratorium for other towns and cities. It seems to be very effective. It allows us time to talk, discuss with a lot of these issues, bring everyone together and collaborate, which I think is so important. I want to give credit to WMGLD tonight for everything you're doing and wanting to work together with everyone. Well, a few points I'll just kind of run through here. I'll start with the biggest one, which I just mentioned. I strongly believe we need a temporary moratorium. This will allow us to buy time so companies do not sneak in and wreak havoc to our community. We want to continue to be proactive and not reactive. Updating the bylaws will be critical to protect ourselves. One concern I have when looking at our bylaws is right now we have no definition for a data center, and it looks like we have, there's literally no verbiage about data centers anywhere in our bylaws. All right. Another point I want to make: diesel generators can be an example of where a company can circumvent the electrical grid. That's an example where WMGLD may not be involved, is if a company were to install a diesel generator or a battery storage facility, they can still have a data center. May not be big, but it's still a data center. For the water department, it's a similar idea here. Perhaps a company can use refrigerant to not, have to approach the water department for obtaining water to cool down a data center. Obviously, refrigerants are more energy intensive, and there's a lot of concerns for this type of system that relies on that. All right, kind of going through my notes here. I think a big thing we want to be aware of too is, especially on a smaller scale, a data center is really hardware, right? And you may be able to have an existing structure in Wakefield, for example, a warehouse, and just plop in hardware, right? Data center hardware, servers, etc. And when I look at personally the building code in Wakefield, I'm not seeing any restrictions or any roadblocks from a company as we speak to doing that, which kind of furthers my my concern regarding the or need for a temporary moratorium. Another thing, I think this is just food for thought for WMGLD. When we think of a large load, it looks like a lot of municipalities are defining it as 20 megawatts. One thing we want to be careful of is if you have one owner, they may daisy chain multiple systems together. So we may want to have protections in any future bylaws where someone cannot do that to circumvent any capacities that may meet or exceed the 20 megawatt threshold. And that's all I have. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's really valuable information. I appreciate it. Sue.
Yes. I'd just like to go back to the point where you said we worked very hard to get our community to 58% green power. And that you said you were talking of making sure that we would work to maintain, if this large load customer came in, that we would work to maintain that effort, that negative. Now, I would like to know, okay, so it seems to me like you're saying you want to swim faster to stay in one place. I would like to know how you can possibly consider that good.
I'm not sure. So the state has a requirement that we reach 50% non-carbon emitting by 2030, 75% non-carbon emitting by 2040, and 100% net zero by 2050. We are currently exceeding the 2030 goal by 8%, and we're on our path to achieving the 2040 goal by the early 2030s. So
What
my
did-
point,
sorry.
my point was that if a large load came in, it would dilute that path. So therefore, we would need to make sure that whatever we did, we would sign an agreement to make sure that that power supply does not dilute our path that we have towards the state goals. And we're already exceeding the 2030 goal by 8%.
What Pete is simply saying is we would make that large load responsible for the difference that they cause in the dilution. So they would be 100% responsible for making sure that we keep on track to our 2030, 2040, and 2045, 2050 goal that were mandated by state law.
Rada.
I think she must have had her hand up from earlier.
She was from the beginning.
Nope. Rada,
So
do you have-
we got two here.
No, I'm here. I do have something to say. First of all, WMGLD, you guys are really great. I've been living here for 26 years. We have not had that many outages in Wakefield, few minutes here and there, while other communities would lose power during storms for days and hours. So I just wanted to really acknowledge that and really appreciate the fact that we have been very fortunate in Wakefield. And me personally, I'm very grateful for that. And I know our electricity is not exuberantly expensive. Everything now these days is expensive. So we really are fortunate to have you guys in our town. So yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to acknowledge and compliment you on that, and I just am very impressed about that. However, if something like that comes to town that stress your systems and you have to update all of that, would that cost be passed to the facility, whatever they are called, that would actually be here? Who would pay for all the upgrades and stuff?
The customer pays for any upgrades required to our system, and that's not a new policy just for the data center. Customers that join our system, they provide us a load requirement letter. Our engineering department reviews it, and then we charge the customer that's building something any costs that are required to upgrade our system to serve them. And so that's not a new concept, that's an existing concept. The high schools had to pay for the electrical infrastructure that was needed to serve them, any other new building development. So it's not a new policy, it's an existing policy. Customers have to pay for any system upgrades that are required to serve them so that the ratepayers are not negatively impacted.
And this is Commissioner Daly, and it's not just the capacity upgrades, but also the distribution line to connect to the system.
Yeah,
that would be borne by the customer.
Any upgrades that are required to the
expansions.
Yeah, it could be simply running a wire to the street in a small case, or it could be significant distribution system upgrades that are required in a large case. It all depends. And that's why we couldn't even answer this customer without them putting in writing exactly what they would be asking us for, so that we can't even study something that we don't know the true answer to. So once that happens, we could then begin to evaluate what would be required and then prepare a cost for them and all that. So that.
Okay, so that's good. What about and based on other communities around the country that have those centers in the neighborhoods, and all of a sudden they found their electric bill doubled. How would that not happen in Wakefield? Hello? Did I lose you?
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Maybe press audio and then off again.
Video, yeah.
Video.
Yeah.
Oh, the audio's fine, but the
Second, we're coming back online. You can hear me.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, give us a second.
1 second.
We have had a technical difficulty.
Wait till the data center comes. Talk about difficulties.
Okay.
I mean, I'll just jump in to answer your question from my perspective. The goal is to design the policy, Rada, so that it does not increase costs for everybody else. That is the way we seek to design the policy to achieve that end.
Okay, so that leads me to my final question. So while we now know that there's a potential something coming our way, why can't we work policy and develop a policy and sort of a preemptive policy so that we can be prepared and we don't allow something monstrous come to our neighborhood, so we can prevent that. We have now time to plan for the worst. And if the worst doesn't come, great. But is there something that you would consider doing that?
We've been working.
That has been our perspective all along. We 100% agree with you.
Okay, so thank you very much. And yes, yes, I'm all for preventing monstrous things, the worst, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you. I want to apologize profusely to the two people in the room who would like to make public comment, I think. So please go right ahead. Thank you.
Hi, my name is James Vaughn. I live at 1055 Main Street in Wakefield. Data centers are loud, they use too much water, generate too much noise pollution. The forest on Farm Street got cut down without notice. These things have a way of happening without notice. I doubt our grid can handle this load. The birds and the wildlife would be impacted. After we cut down the last tree and pollute the last river, we'll realize you can't eat money. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan O'Malley. I'm actually a candidate for state senate, but I'm also on the Malden City Council. And so I participated in a lot of these conversations in surrounding communities, including Malden. And this has been one of the most, I think, informative and transparent, which I really appreciate. So I think you all really deserve kudos when it comes to that. I think having a transparent conversation is going to be essential to making whatever comes down the pike successful, because it is something that I think is new for many people. I think that's just coming from personally what I've been dealing with. But I think you've done a really good job of identifying the different responsibilities. So obviously, the water department needs to address water consumption and the impact it could have on water rates, as well as just generally the environment. Obviously, y'all are in charge of the electrical load and the capacity. But I think one of the most important things that has been identified is really your zoning. In Malden, we did implement a temporary moratorium because we realized our zoning did not define data center. And what I think people don't realize is that like a data center can fit into a closet, or it could fit into this room. And it's really dictating how much energy is going to be pulled, not necessarily the size. And so I think that as a community, in all communities, we should really be addressing zoning as soon as possible. And I think the rest of it comes after that, because it puts you in a difficult position now. Because if someone comes up and says, hey, this is my idea, you really can't say no if the zoning allows it. So thank you for this conversation.
Thank you
for joining us. If you have any model policies and regulation or zoning that you think we should be considering, please pass it along to us. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, I think focusing on the size, because obviously you don't want to make it difficult for existing businesses that have a data closet. So, there should be stuff that's, exempt from more scrutiny, because you don't want to discourage businesses. But obviously the larger ones need to be kind of regulated a little bit more. And I think that another speaker mentioned diesel. generators. What I've heard in Lowell is that's one of their biggest complaints is because they have to have like 99.9% uptime. They're actually running these generators weekly to make sure that they're working. And so it's actually the generators that are connected to data centers that are the big complaint.
Thank you.
And I think Tom mentioned the fact that the model, if we were to get to that place, the energy park that we built for the high school and the tech school is a lot cleaner. The primary backup supply is the battery, and then the secondary backup supply is a natural gas fired generator. And that's how we designed the backup to both those schools. So the energy park model is much cleaner, so.
And quieter.
And quieter, yeah.
Okay. I don't see any more hands or raised or anyone jumping up to comment. So last call for public comment, and then we're going to move on with agenda for the evening. Cool. I see Kate.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kate Davis. I live at 30 Salem Street in Wakefield. And just a comment, I know a lot of people were very interested in this discussion, and some people may not have been here. So I don't know if with all this conversation, if there's been thought about doing an info session or anything so that people that are curious, I didn't see that this was recorded for people to look back and just know people of different abilities. You know, sometimes we need to sit and process the information that we're getting. So if there's anything like a frequently asked questions or something to think about, maybe doing in the future so people can be informed about what's going on and how they can be more involved in the community would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm not seeing anyone else. So I think we're going to close public comments. We did a lot of the large load discussion already, which is number 5 under old business. But to the extent that there's any more for us to discuss, I would entertain a motion to move it up to just under public comment so that we can just close that entire discussion and then move on to all of our other agenda items.
I'll make the motion to move the large load under section D. What is that?
Number 5.
P5.
Number 5. Oh, it is missing in the board book. Interesting. Number 5 up to the public comment section.
This is Lily. I'd like to comment. I think we should look at a rubric or a time frame to sort of begin really reviewing policy.
So we can discuss that once we move the agenda item up. Okay. Then we first move the.
I thought we were moving the agenda item up because we wanted to close it.
No, we
Yes,
want
I
to-
made a motion,
Okay.
but it has to be
Yeah.
seconded and voted.
Okay, so we're not closing it. Okay.
Nope. We can discuss that.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote. Can I have Tom Betcher?
Aye.
Commissioner Preeti?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Yep.
Commissioner Daly?
Aye.
And Commissioner Calais? Aye. That is now moved up. So now we're into our board discussion, large load discussion to talk about process, which is one thing I did flag up front that I'd like to talk about. And Lily, go back to what you were saying.
Yes, I think, yeah, finding a rubric and being able to discuss that as soon as possible. Again, having gone to the APBA sessions, really for all municipalities and utility systems, there is no good, strong framework or any policy that we can look at. A lot of the large loads that we have been seeing have been from the private sector, and a lot of them have NDAs, so we cannot see any of their policy. And so I think, yes, reaching out to MWIC, to all the resources that we have access to, and start really gaining information and finding potential options about how to deal with issues throughout the policy. Because with, each new policy that utility system creates for a large load, we're finding over time there are issues within it. There's back routes and all of that where, I think a utility or a large load says they'll be able to provide, these rates or this accommodation or, this relief to the community, but we've seen that, there can be negative impacts. So really, I think ensuring that our policy, and we look at all policies, does not create any loops in it for long-term success.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously we've all been doing a lot of research on this. The current state administration through Executive Order 654 has already directed the DPU to state that any data center full cost of energy supply, infrastructure upgrades, interconnection, total facility energy costs be fully borne by that. So I think we should start to look at those things coming down from the state and the DPU and using that as our base of framework to start getting that policy put together, and then obviously layering on our specific Wakefield needs on top of that.
I think part of this discussion will be about looking at our customer charges, customer kayak policies. So how much our customers charge to connect, what kind of studies are required when they request load, and how are those costs borne by ratepayers, our customers. What considerations do we need? Like, what are our design planning policies for making sure that we have adequate capacity? Those are things that we'll be looking at. So it's not just community and location and, water and sewer and environment. We will be looking at our system and what it can handle and how those costs are allocated to customers.
Historically, they haven't been. I mean, historically, what we've done is if somebody comes into town, a builder, cost is 100% borne by the developer, the builder, that type of thing. That's what we've done in the past.
We haven't had a kayak calculation.
No. So
in other words, 3 years of load and all that. Yeah, no, we haven't. We've charged them the cost of what it costs to upgrade the infrastructure.
Okay.
When DRT was here 12 years ago, they asked for what they wanted, and we got a check for $1.5 million to make the distribution upgrades that were needed to serve them. And they also made contributions towards undergrounding the head of the lake and also towards the preliminary engineering of the Wallace substation before they ended up moving out and Wallace kept going. But they made contributions to the cost of all those things
that we're still benefiting from today.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. All those distribution upgrades, again, they're not using them, but the 1.5 million in distribution upgrades we got that actually built this line right here that's now undergrounded along here was all paid for by them.
I do think it's important to have a schedule for development of the policy. Even if it's a draft, I think we need to be able to share something. So I am wondering when we can at least produce a schedule with our intentions. Because that will help, I think, guide us in the next.
Should we form like a subcommittee to tackle it, or?
Well, I'm just interested in thoughts on how many meetings we think it will take to develop a first draft.
Well, I guess it depends on how inclusive do we want the policy to be? Because are we talking just about?
Yeah, 30,000 foot policy or a 10,000 foot
Well,
policy?
I think we should start from the 30,000 and work to a
Yeah.
more detailed over time, so.
Pete, do you and your team want to take a look at that executive order?
Yeah.
And start from there and see how much that's in, because at least reading the order, I haven't seen the DPU hasn't put anything out yet from that order, but a lot of at least what's in the executive order covers a large bulk of the things that we've been talking
Key
about.
points. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good, it's a good solid starting place, and then we can layer in the parts and pieces that make sense for us, like obviously the energy park style for backup resiliency and those types of things.
I mean, I think as a guiding principle, what we've been talking about since January was the fact that in no way can the ratepayers be negatively impacted. So on power supply costs, on infrastructure costs, on future green composition of our portfolio, on so there's a lot of, so if we keep that as our guiding principle, that the existing ratepayers cannot be negatively impacted, a lot of the things that we spell out for either a data center or any large load will come into light as we go forward, And again, Elton said, and I think Tom has said it, that new load is not a bad thing for our customers. It's just to make sure we manage it properly.
Right.
New load helps our ratepayers. It doesn't hurt them. It's just a matter of it can't be too large that it actually creates a negative effect. So we need to make sure that we don't discourage new load. We just manage it properly.
Correct. And I'll as you guys all know, I work in the tech field and data centers and things, and the size of megawatts that we're able to offer, I would say, is a more of a beneficial data centers. These are the data centers that private companies utilize, like our hospital systems, our public communication, private businesses. The size of megawatts that we have to offer are not the data centers that you are seeing in the news, that the one down in Memphis, the one being proposed in Utah. Those are on hundreds of megawatts and even gigawatts. Those are not the scale that we're talking about here. These are the more traditional colo type data centers that support universities and things. So not all data centers are bad. There are certainly bad ones out there. There are certainly bad practices. And one of my things that I want to make sure is that we don't have any of those bad practices, that we have things that are good and beneficial for the light department, the ratepayers, and the town.
And I think our history proves that we're on top of that by just judging by the energy park. I mean, the fact that we saw an issue and we addressed 7 years ago, we were out in front of that issue. We came up with a solution that served both new schools efficiently, effectively, and benefits the ratepayers as well as serving the needs of those schools, I think is critically important. And so I think if we have that same approach to this next set of concepts, then I think we'll be fine. Again, keeping in mind that the goal is that we will not be negatively impacting the ratepayer, then all the things that we talk about with power supply infrastructure and construction are all going to have to be factored into that.
I would like to think about, we're talking about data centers and large loads. What are other large load integrated businesses that aren't just purely, let's say, a data center or a computer system, software, like you just have all these circuits in one building that can also supplement for our interests in growing our load capacity?
I mean, I think we talked about industrial manufacturing.
Yeah.
We talked about EV bus depots, charging bus depots,
truck fleet rate of EVs as well.
Mhm.
you know,
So yeah.
Warehouses.
So yeah, I think a good question is sort of what do we, again, like discussing the definition of large load and what would that customer be? Do we even want to have, large software systems, or could a large load be something like, commercial zone? Or
Are you saying that, just trying to get clarity, are you saying that we should limit the type of customer that we would want?
I think we should just better define what large load is, because it seems like it's everything, and we have a lot of concern on, the community side, where it's like, what is large load? We're very focused right now on the large load of data centers. Can we clarify this is what we are, when we are talking about large, it is just talking about data centers, and we're not including all these other.
I think our plan for the policy was that it was large load. It was,
It's the general over.
it wasn't, if it was greater than so much, it was considered a large load.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be a number threshold from a megawatt perspective. in
Not
my
a
opinion.
customer service.
Not a customer type, because at the end of the day, as a municipal light and gas department, we have the obligation to serve the customers.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be discriminating.
Types of service.
Right.
yeah, we can't discuss about, business type A is can get power and business type B can't get power. If they've met all of the town's zoning bylaws, state laws, electrical code, and our policy, we have to connect them. Now, our policy may say that, we're not accepting load more than, 50 megawatts. And someone comes in with 51, well, our policy states that that's too large. So those types of things are built in the policy, and it will be on that number thresholds, but it is not within, the scope of this body to discuss whether, business A has more merit or has merit versus business B. That's not within our scope.
If I can make a concrete suggestion, because I think this will take meetings and there's a lot of parts to this, I'd like to identify a topic area that we can discuss in September. And it sounds like the definition of large load might be a really good topic to start with.
Yes. Like, what's our cap? Yeah. Impact.
Maybe we can break it apart into a few key high-level sections for just.
So why don't we commit to proposing a definition of large load, and we'll review the executive order to see if it has sub bullets that we should also make sure we're considering in a policy.
Okay, great. So at least we have that, and it'll be public, that it'll be on our agenda, and that we agreed to it tonight. So if people want to attend in September to listen to that discussion around the definition, they can and participate in it, they're welcome to do so.
Jen, also, circling back to a public comment about recording, this meeting is being recorded, and all of our meetings are recorded, and the minutes and the recordings are posted on our webpage for those folks that want to go and look at previous meetings and discussions that we've had around large load and, quite frankly, everything else.
So we have heard suggestions tonight for info sessions and FAQs and things like that, which I agree would be helpful to have. But I do still continue to feel like we need to make progress on getting the townwide discussions scheduled so that people can be in attendance and participating, since there are so many issues that are just outside of our jurisdiction, but worthy of discussing and understanding.
I agree. I think that rather than have it at the MLD level, having it at the town level with all the departments.
Different department where we're a participant too.
Yeah, we're one of the participants. Yeah.
Okay, so I can follow up through our liaison to start, and if we don't hear anything back from there, I'll expand out from there to all the counselors. So and I'll keep you posted on what I hear back. Anything else for tonight on large load discussion? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hearing no other comments? Oh, we have one person in the waiting room, sorry. Just noticing as I look up. Hearing no other comments on that, we'll move into our regular agenda, starting with the secretary's report.
Yes.
Be in the waiting room.
Yeah, so you just press.
Oh, no, she's joining.
Is joining it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Are there any comments on the January 3rd meeting minutes?
June.
June, I'm sorry.
I,
Long day.
I already provided my comments.
Same.
I do not have any other comments.
If Jack was here, he would have comments.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we approve the June 3rd, 2026 minute.
I'll second it.
Okay, we're gonna roll call vote. Commissioner Betcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Pripty,
Aye.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Daly,
Aye.
Commissioner Calais, aye. Approved. Okay, moving into old business and the general manager's report.
Yep, I think, there's a lot going on with these other topics, so there's not a lot to get into other than the fact that we received the, APPA Energy Innovator Award at the annual conference, which was excellent. We also, Dave and Olivia and the team hosted the open house as part of that at the Energy Park on the Sunday. It was very well attended and it was excellent. In terms of other stuff, I think we're going to get into it in the rest of the meeting. I think, the one concern I had was the public outcry. I think it was justified in some ways that people are concerned about the topic, but I think the places that it got personal were uncalled for. And I think, I would like to speak for myself and for other commissioners that were called out during this process, as potentially being corrupt or fraudulent, that there's no place for that in the dialogue. There's no history of that. Just because somebody has the same last name as somebody on one of our providers, or that we've been doing something for many, many years, like being a member of MWEC, I think uninformed comment is not valid and it's not useful. So I didn't appreciate my character being called into question. I didn't appreciate Mr. Commissioner Betcher's character being called into question. And so I needed to get that off my chest, because I've been here 20 years and I didn't appreciate that. So, but other than that, I think we're good.
I think it would be important just to have on the record that we are not allowed to divulge or share any customer information. And that goes not just for commercial and industrial customers, but also residential customers. If you came to us with a project, we would not be at liberty to have an open forum and discuss any aspect of that project.
As a specific, I have,
That's
from time to time, I have, landlords will call up and say, are my tenants paying their bills? I can't talk about that. So, I mean, it gets down to that nitty-gritty level of detail.
so
Yes, customer information is private privileged information, and that is defined in both mass law and DPU regulations. So it is not that we don't want to divulge who the customer is, it is we cannot. And I would think that folks should be would respect that, because, if you as a customer were having an issue, I myself wouldn't want that to be discussed in
in a
public.
public forum,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
And also that goes for customers that are leaving Wakefield. We are not at liberty to talk about, that as well. So
That's helpful. Thank you for those comments. Let's go into project updates in the energy park.
Oh, there was one question that raised, I think it was originally began when Tom was the chair. The Evans Place issue with Oak Street. It's a private way off of Oak Street. It's on our commissioner's issue list. We've had several conversations with the DPW, and Joe Conway is taking care of the issue. The problem with the trenches and the patching were definitely more on the town side, and we've been working with Joe to support him in any way we can in terms of help maybe co-fund a piece of that section that he needs to replace. So, but the town administrator was asking the same question, and so Joe and I have been working with Dee to resolve the issue.
Okay, moving into 2A, Energy Park, under project updates.
The testing is in its final stages. I think all the things that have been, all the issues that have been seen have been worked through in terms of the timing stuff. I think maybe since the last time we met, both switches were mounted. We converted all the load over to the switches. When we were doing our preliminary testing, we were actually doing it on the old, more primitive design, but both switches arrived, they were installed, and now testing has been completed on that side. Dave, anything else on the energy park you want to share?
Right now, we're working with the schools to cut over their load to the permanent. So there's a couple things going on up there, but we've cut the emergency transformer over to the energy park a week or so ago, and we're coordinating with them to cut their permanent transformers over to the energy park as well. So that should be wrapped up by the end of the month. And while we're doing that, we're doing final testing. So we plan to be wrapped up before August.
And then because of the length and duration of this anticipated meeting, we've asked Nicole to reschedule. So the update on the educational program will be rescheduled. We didn't want to keep her sitting here through that.
Yeah. So also included in this agenda item is an email that I received, and potentially others, from Daniel Lieber regarding some questions about EV chargers at the new buildings, the Northeast Metro Tech building and the high school.
You want me to take that?
Well, I think Tom had actually corresponded with a constituent, Mr. Lieber, and where we're at right now is that we've provided the 5 chargers to each school that we committed to, 5 level 2s, 10 parking spots. Dave, did the tech school do anything in addition to, if you want to cover both sides of what they did?
So far that we've delivered 3 of the 5. So they have 2 locations they're installing chargers, the upper lot near the school and then the lower lot near the athletic building. So as of right now, we'll be only providing the 5 chargers, 3 up above and 2 below. I don't believe the schools are adding, the Northeast Metro Tech is adding additional charges at their location other than what we're providing. The high school, we've back in 2024, we worked with them on the design for the EV chargers for their facility. Their challenges were highlighted in that email that they had some financial requirements, limitations that they were trying to live within, in code requirements. And we offered to obviously offered them 5 chargers, level 2s that they'll be installing outside the school. And then because of code and cost, they opted to do the level 3 charges, 2 level 3 charges. So that was their decision, but that was all their requirement for different reasons internally, and those decisions were made approximately 2 years ago.
By the way, and Dave, at the time, Vinny and Dave were meeting with them on a regular basis, and they did recommend to use additional level 2s rather than the 2 level 3s. But the building committee made the decision to go with the 2 level 3s to meet their code requirement. But it was strongly suggested by Dave and Vinny that they consider the other option. They chose not to. Again, when you're building a multi-million-dollar project like that, there's trade-offs that everybody has to make, and that was the trade-off that they chose to make. So
that is correct.
So, Mr. Lieber's email stated that it was 4 level 3s, or otherwise known as DC fast. Or are we certain it's 2? And that was information, and the recording also said 4. So that's, yeah, I can see where that confusion is coming from. Do we know?
Yeah, it's 2 with 4 ports probably.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that makes, all right. That makes more sense.
Right.
Just from a perspective, and I agree with Mr. Lieber's concerns in terms of, and I know that this is outside of the light department, because we are providing the 5 level 2s, but a school where cars are parked for longer durations, a level 2 charging is a much, much better option where, it takes several hours to charge versus a level 3 or DC fast where, a vehicle only needs, 20 to 40 minutes to charge. So, having 2 of those may be underutilized as well, but understand some of the cost constraint concerns and trade-offs, and that when the initial email having the 4, not realizing that was 4 ports, but 4 DC fast, and can see where that confusion came from.
And Tom, we did have a discussion. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Yeah,
we did have a discussion with them, trying to educate them about the benefits of the level 2, and they weighed that, and they came to the conclusion that they wanted to go with the DC fast chargers and then the chargers that we were providing because of, like I mentioned earlier. So it was discussed with them, and then I don't know their protocol. It was discussed with the design team, and then I don't know how they work internally to communicate with the different boards within the school department construction project.
Yeah, and just for clarification, the 5 pedestals that we're giving provide 10 parking spots, and I think that the math that I think that they're working with is within the stretch code. I believe the school is putting in 400 parking spots, and that the code requires 10% to be EV. But then there is a calculus of level 2 counts as 2 spots, and then the fast charger, I believe, even though it's 1 parking space, it actually counts for 4 parking spaces in that calculus. I might be off on that. I didn't get a chance to go look at what the actual calculus is to satisfy the code, but I'm sure that they are meeting that, and that's how they are meeting that with those two chargers. I will say it is a little I do think that 2 of those may be underutilized in that area. DC fast should be more where people are traveling through, like next to highways and things, or short duration stays like the one downtown where someone can plug in and go grab a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I'll just add to that, logistically, like Tom said, the person after 20 minutes would have to leave class, go back to their car and move their car to a different parking space so that somebody else could use it. So that's just really impractical during a school day for people to be doing, to be able to maximize the use of that piece of equipment.
So those examples were brought to their attention early on in the process, so over 2 years ago. So we Vinny and I fully agree with you, and that was, those exact points were communicated to their design team, and their design team made the decision what we have today. But we agree with you.
No, I know. I understand that you guys agree, and I was informed that you made those points, and thank you. But I was stating those things for our record here. Maybe they can revisit that. I know that is completely outside of our purview, where that is under the school building committee, and they're building a project, and we're providing guidance, advice, and the at least the 5 level 2 pedestals to each school. So all right, that's all I have on that.
Okay, any other discussion on the energy park?
Well, I'm just curious, are the EV chargers connected to the microgrid or are they separate?
They're part of
They're
the,
part of it. They're part of,
part of the services,
okay,
both schools. Yeah.
okay,
They're fed out of the school,
okay.
not out of the energy park directly.
Oh, okay. Because does that then change sort of how it runs if you're from a 2 to 3? No, okay.
Okay. Moving on to number 3, gas moratorium.
So the project we had last month was to update the leftover, the people that are on the waiting list right now. We haven't made as much progress on that. The list is in the low 90s right now. It was originally 106. It's in the low 90s, but we haven't completed our review of it. It's been a little bit, we've been doing a lot of other stuff. So I'm not ready to give you an answer on where the current list is, but we're still working through it. So
That's
And
fine.
Pete, just oh, sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Oh, you go ahead, Tom.
As part of that, I think there was a request to just kind of understand what, a reasonable time frame is for someone to put a gas line in, if someone is on the, and kind of thinking, is it, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? I don't have a good grasp of what, how long that
I don't
takes.
think I don't think 2 years is unreasonable, except for the fact that we should be willing to make exceptions if they're still affected by a paving moratorium. So we should give them a longer, if they can't dig now and they can't dig for 2 more years, but they do still want to dig in 3 years, then I think, so on an exception basis, I think we could allow more, but I don't think 2 years is unreasonable.
Okay. Yeah. Then that's it. Like I said, I didn't have a good grasp of what is reasonable. Obviously your team has a lot more experience with that. So thank you for that insight.
So we'll try to complete the review of the list by September, and then we can talk more about it.
Okay. Super. On to old business number 4, employee survey.
Yeah, I was asked to provide a sample report. Great Blue was very good at giving us a redacted report, a sample of what it would look like. I did talk to both associations. I'm not sure what kind of response we're going to get when we put it out. The Employees Association was not very interested. The Supervisory Association really did make a comment, so I'm guessing we probably get more of them, but I don't think we'll get a good response on the employee side.
When do we need to make a decision by a certain, do we say we would get back to them, or what's the status of?
It's one of our goals for the year, whether we proceed or not, so it's up to the board to decide whether we want to proceed or not. So we think it's going to cost about 15 grand. This would be the product that we would get. It would look very similar to this. This includes a lot of the questions that are asked, and so the question would be, I guess, again, the question last month was, what's the goal? What are we hoping to get out of this? So.
Well, I'm very curious. I mean, I already have some information and I'm kind of processing it. I'm very interested in the response from the Employees Association that they're not really interested in a survey. I don't know if there's insight into that. Yeah, in my mind, a survey is a way to make things better, highlight issues that we just don't know about. So that's very curious to myself.
Yeah, I'll say in looking through this product, I'm not sure what I would do if the trust index was 75. So I think, what we talked about last time is like open-ended questions where people can provide, real information and potentially even recommendations. And that to me is far more valuable than a trust score. in terms of being able to act upon it. I don't know how I would act on upon some of this information that I'm looking at.
And like this, a product like this is beneficial if it's done multiple years in a row. So
True.
you then can compare from year to year the difference that changes, and then you can start attacking areas in need of improvement. I wonder if we make it open-ended and we get the kitchen sink thrown at us, how do we prioritize what we're going to go after and address?
We'd have to discuss it. Hard to know until you see it, right?
Well, do we know if they provide questions like that? Because is it
Every survey might have
Yeah.
like open-ended questions at the end usually.
okay?
It seemed like this type of survey was designed for
Larger.
a larger sample size, so it looked like 600 entries, and then also multiple operating companies. So I don't know how we would, if we would like divide that, like have like field force versus, you know.
Well, again, so the electric division has 10, the gas division has 9, the office has 9. Yeah, so we're very small, so it's hard to.
Or the
Anonymous at that.
Yeah.
What?
The associations.
Right.
Like, I don't know how you would divide it up so that we would have enough of a sample so that people would be anonymous.
Yeah,
I
mean, maybe we even just have a comment box. People can just type it with nothing, so there's no handwriting. But even just ask. We could start very simply. Is what are 3 highlights of gas and light, and what are 3 lowlights, and see what comes of that. And that doesn't cost us anything other than the box and the paper.
I think because we're such a small group, the concern is really being outed in any capacity. I think that's the biggest concern. That would, I think, maybe be, for myself too, if I was to put myself in that situation, like, I don't want to say anything negative because maybe I talk about it with, my coworkers, we know it, and then it's sort of now everyone knows. So how to go about asking questions that aren't so personal, but also informative of the general culture. I think maybe a culture response versus a personal, like individual, like how this has affected me personally. Like, how's the culture of the business? Do I feel welcomed? Do I, was I trained? Do I feel like I've been trained up to my level, or, sort of more general questions like that, where it is like you get an idea of where people are feeling like they're not succeeding, but it's not so, specific to their experience. So it doesn't make them feel so outed.
Out of our real-time answers to concerns and questions, Olivia was able to get a response from Great Blue right away that says, in regard to open-ended questions, we can absolutely include those. We always do a more generic summary of comments that could be interpreted to be attributed to a specific person.
Okay.
Good job, Olivia.
Thanks, Olivia.
That was real time.
Just to follow up on the polling that you did about employees not interested in doing the survey. How did you collect that information? Did you just
I talked to union representatives.
The union reps? Okay. I mean,
we could still it wouldn't hurt to put it out there if we wanted to and see who responds and what feedback we get for 1 year and decide if it's. I don't think I would do it every year. We might do like
every other year.
But again, it depends on the results we get. Is it worth it? So if 10 people respond and it's not really actionable, then maybe we don't do it again. But if we want to do it, we can. Again, it's only 42 people, so.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd love to I mean, we want to just know like where people think there could be improvements. I mean, everybody wants to.
Yeah,
I this is just one channel for us to collect that information. So I think your point about making sure that people feel safe,
Yeah.
and that they're not going to be, singled out or outed. I think so we have to come up with a way to make sure that that information is,
It's private.
is private.
And only we're looking at it in a.
Or aggregated so that.
It needs to be aggregated. We
Yeah.
will not have access.
Yeah, not like specifically, but the data that.
We'll get the summary report.
Right.
We don't want to know
No.
specifics either.
Yeah.
If we did, that would violate the trust, so.
Exactly.
The reply that they would give us would be generic enough,
Yeah.
they say, to make sure we don't know that
Yeah, the bit, yeah.
it was Mark that wrote that comment about Pete.
No, we don't.
Every day.
Good news is he's not shy about sharing the comments in person.
Need a survey.
Time, so.
You don't need an anonymous survey.
I do think that 15,000 feet feels high for the amount of work.
I know, yeah.
Really high.
Well,
Is it?
I think we're gonna put in the work regardless of how many people are
Yeah.
on the survey, right? To put together the questions and formatting and everything else.
But I guess what
It's
I'm
gonna be the
thinking
same.
is like, I would love for us to have a role in the question.
Yeah.
I think there's ability, if you remember when we did the customer one,
Yeah.
I think there was like a handful of questions that we could
Correct.
help design. So I believe that's a possibility. I think that's what he was
Yeah.
saying in his reply. That we could work with them to craft a handful of the questions. There's some standard ones, but I remember we spent some time
we did.
crafting a handful of the.
Yeah.
Because the standards one, depending on how they use them, it could start indicating certain things in different categories, but.
I think they also have a core of standard questions because it allows you to compare to other entities.
External.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but I don't know. None of this is going to be statistically significant. That's what's hard. And I don't think we can view it that way. So I want to be careful about putting ourselves, would make comparisons that are not valid. And I do think it's good to have a culture, even if we're not there today, a culture where if this is done on an annual basis, people become over time more comfortable with the practice, even if they're not there right now. Yeah.
Do they have a sample of a smaller, employee study in a smaller, company? Or is this sort of
I think this
basis?
This is their
Olivia?
this is their smallest.
Yeah. Mhm. Might
I
be
mean, did
helpful.
we not to come back to the simply, putting a box out for, to see how that is responded and then go from there?
I don't think, I don't think many people will use the bot. Unfortunately, it'd be better to send out through an email maybe, and they just click and answer sort of situation where it's not like they have to go and walk into the hall and put, question, or I don't know, make everyone write something. You can either write something or not, and we all just put it in a container and, something like that, but then someone has to read it.
Yeah.
But I was just curious about, this company, because it looks like, they use, they're reviewing large businesses and, entities. Are there, is there potentially another group that, really focuses?
I know that these guys work with munis. I think finding another entity that could, that would be a challenge.
So yeah, I think maybe getting more information, what are sort of the curated questions you'd ask for, so, for us, for example, because we are so small compared to, the responses and, what we see in this packet, that's for a much larger company. Yeah.
Well, I think in a lot of ways, we'd have to develop it.
Yeah, it sounds like
had conversations about, things we want to know the answer to. Or want to inquire.
How can the board help move this along? Because.
Well, I think the last action was to get this. So if we still want to proceed, Liv and I will start talking to them in greater detail about how to work with the team to craft the custom questions that you might want to ask. Probably one of the things that would be helpful is if anybody has sample questions that they might want to ask. We're not meeting again until September 4th, but if you can email them to me, then we can start to share them with Great Blue if we're going to proceed, and we can start to share that so that there can be sample questions that we share back in September with everybody. That would be our custom questions.
Yeah. And maybe when talking to Great Blue, if they have, now that we've identified that there may be low participation, if they have suggestions or have encountered this or in how, to increase participation, short of, mandating it, I guess.
That won't happen.
No, I know that won't, but I'm just saying, are there strategies that they have seen?
The trust score will go to 0.
Yeah. Are there strategies that they have seen to increase participation successfully that are positive, right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Liv, anything else on the topic? I know Liv and I have been in the meetings.
No, I mean, I guess in response to Tom's question, I think one of the things they had mentioned is some sort of incentive that can look different for different companies, whether it's a $5 Dunkin' Donuts gift card or something like that. They did mention that, but we do have a lot of information from them just on kind of their responsibilities, our responsibilities, and how things will look going forward. They're very responsive. So any questions we can definitely send off to them, but it seems like it should be somewhat customizable.
Or even if we just went through this and marked off the questions that we thought were the most important. Because there are a lot of questions. Maybe we don't need 36 questions. I think there were how many? 30?
Yeah, this is yes, I agree.
This feels like a lot of homework.
Yes.
I think we should keep this a lot tighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 15 questions to 10 questions.
Rather than, my preference, it's already 8:30, would be not go through it tonight.
Tonight,
Yeah.
just saying, instead of just coming up with
if there's suggested question, that would be helpful as Liv and I can work with them. So if there are A, sample custom questions that we want to ask, and B, if you want to just give the number, the sample numbers or whatever.
Well, I mean, just to close the loop, are we proceeding with this? And if we do, should we use the September meeting to bring those questions to the meeting and discuss where we have common ground?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. And we'll learn a lot from this first survey, whether, I mean, I think it'll be valuable regardless of participation levels.
I agree. As I've stated in the past, I think it's important to have feedback from the employees.
Yeah, it's interesting, as you had mentioned as well, Tom, that, they're not, as interested in participating in it. And so that to me seems, why is that?
Participants in baseline. Yeah.
And hopefully it'll grow and
Okay, so why don't we do that and we'll put it back on the agenda for September and we'll bring our questions, both custom and from this document. And see if we can get that feedback to you.
Yep.
Great. Okay. Shall we move to new business credit card fee policy?
Yes. So I think we included in here the cost of credit card services for Wakefield Gas and Light has grown dramatically over the past 10 years. We have covered all credit card fees and EFT fees to date. We are one of very few that are still covering the credit card fees. Our recommendation is that on October 1st, we start to pass those on to the customer and that we continue to cover the EFT fees, but we're over $200,000 this year. Partly it's a function of success that we are getting more people to pay that way. But the other side of it is that direct cost to ratepayers is significant.
Banks have dramatically increased the merchant fees over the years.
Yeah.
Are the
I was
fees,
going to ask that question because I was looking at FY21 to FY22. There is a large jump in the processing fees, but not a corresponding jump in the number of credit cards being used. Was there like a significant increase in fees that they were charging?
My
Just
one comment, and this is just speculation, I have no, data to back this up, but, during, COVID and coming out of COVID, I mean, I think the financial institutions, Tom, may have realized that they were onto something because people don't want to touch payments anymore, that type of thing, when I could just go on my phone or whatever and process a payment, this way rather than scratching out a check, right? So I think, we're kind of, in a sense, we're a victim of our own success. So I think that's what, was kind of one of the drivers behind it. And the banks kind of picked up on this and said, hey, this is a great profit center. So
yeah, so you're saying that they increased their fees because, like I said, I would have expected a from 21 to 22, the number of transactions to kind of correspond in that spike, but there isn't a sharp up on the number of transactions.
Right.
How much of this is tied into credit card versus ETFs or the check?
Okay, this graph that we have is the credit card transaction. So on a transaction basis, Elton, it was almost 50-50. It's EFTs represent 49.8% of transactions.
Yeah.
Okay. And credit cards are 50.2% of transactions. So it's roughly a 50-50 split.
But the cost, the dollar.
On the dollar wise, just to quantify it, we're being charged on an EFT or a debit card or ACH, we're being charged 50 cents. Okay. Per transaction, per swipe, per whatever you want to call it. Versus on the other side of it, it ranges. And again, the transactions, and if you can understand this credit card statement, it's literally it's 5 pages, and they have
by type,
different fees and different tiers
based on the amount
per, like if you have a gold card or an Amex card, like it's all a different.
It's by dollar amount and by card.
Yeah, it's all a different menu. But the average, I think the important question or the important thing is, if on October 1st, we decide to push it back to the customer, it's going to be either a $2.95 minimum transaction based on dollars, okay? Or so that's a minimum, and it's going to be up to 2.99%. So if you have $100 bill, light bill, it's going to cost you $3. It's going to cost you $103.
Winter time.
I'm paying it now, or Pete's paying it now. So that's why this one last month was 17,365. So
$1,000 bills, $30. $1,000 bills, $30 just for the transaction.
So one of the things that we did when it really started to get ugly, and I kind of throttled it back, was businesses could charge, so if you've got, and it's not uncommon for a business to have a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 electric bill. We noticed that, right? We noticed that, and we're like, yeah, we can't do this. So we throttled it back to a $5,000 max, which is still egregious for
the ratepayers.
For somebody else to absorb, but commercial customers, because nobody that I know of has a $5,000 residential bill. I don't know, it could happen, but.
Do most commercial customers pay with credit card?
They have that option. No, most of them don't.
They pay with EFT?
But there were people who, our customers who, they recognize that, and they're like, hey, I can get my points. I can take my family to wherever.
I pay my electric bill.
Right, me too.
Right. Yeah. So,
The recommendation is that we start immediately informing customers, but that by October 1st, that'll give them time to switch to an EFT if they choose, understand that they will be charged if they use their credit card. So we do an information campaign and then let them know that if they need help, they can call us. But I think that it's getting to the point of critical mass that I don't think we can keep eating these fees.
Yeah. And I mean, there's still free options to pay you can drop
You can actually write a check.
You can actually write a check. You can do an e-check. I pay my bills. I go on my online banking and I write an e-check from my bank account.
Yeah, those
Pay my water bill, pay my property taxes, pay my light bill. That's how I do it. And it's
he calls the hospital and pays his medical, his copay over the phone.
$20
and $5 installments.
So are we looking at this? We're keeping the EFT still free, and then if you do credit card, it's $295 minimum, plus 2.99% of the transaction value.
Well, it's not $295 plus. It's either or.
All right. So it's $295. So if it's less, so if it's if it's less, your minimum
of $295, or if it's greater than $295, it's the percentage. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So time is probably larger.
Thank you.
Okay.
And from a systems perspective, how hard is it going to be to make the switch on the payment system?
Thank you, Elton. That was my next question.
Email.
All right.
But there will be some, there's going to be some management of weaning the people off of credit cards, because that's a manual process of going in. We can't just take people off of credit cards, right? I mean, we could start the education process. But what's going to happen is if we go as of 10/1, starting in with your November bill, people, they're going to think that their bill is all set. There's going to be the stragglers. So that's going to be the difficult to manage.
They're on auto pay.
Mark, do we have the ability in the system to see, and I think that the folks that are probably will be most impacted and caught off guard that have it set up as auto pay, right? The folks that have put the credit card in auto pay and they're just like, my utility bill gets paid month after month and they may not see that. Do we have the ability within the system to see those that have set up auto payment with a credit card and proactively reach out to them via text message through the billing system, just to get their attention, because they're probably the ones that are not opening the emails. Obviously they're if they're enrolled in that, they're not getting paper statements in the mail.
Correct. So to set up the auto payment, you have to give me your email address. You have to give me have some of that customer information.
Okay.
We can query and so we do have contact information that we can contact.
All right. Yeah, I think that's probably, I'm all for this, but I just want to make sure that, especially since we have the tools, that we are fairly proactive, especially with that subset of group of people.
Yeah, that transition. Yeah.
Thank you.
Were we moving our payment system to a different platform or not?
We evaluated it about 4 years ago, and there were.
I remember us talking about it, but
we kicked it around. But the problem with them was a lot of these costs were hidden costs on their side too. What looked like it was potentially a savings, there were different hidden costs.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking is, like, if we are going through something like that, like, could we align the switch over to whenever we go to a new payment system, if that was the case? But if it's not, then I totally get it.
Yeah, we ended up staying with Invoice Cloud because the thing we were evaluating it had a lot of other hidden issues.
Yeah, which is fine.
So the savings wasn't as great as we thought it was.
But yeah, the bill, I mean, like Pete said, I mean, it's ticking up to $250,000 a year. That's real money, you know what I mean? And it's
used elsewhere.
Yeah.
So how will we notify customers?
We'll do either an e-blast or we'll do a bill. We'll do
probably multiple mechanisms. We're going to start with contact information we have within Invoice Cloud and our billing system first, but also we'll put it in the paper, we'll put it on the website, we'll keep reminding people, because the reason I was pushing for October 1st is that gives us 2.5 months to kind of repeatedly inform people. And as Mark said, there will be stragglers that forget,
and there's nothing to say that we won't kick it down to November, December if we don't have a big enough hit rate, if we've only touched 50% of the people, we can't really pull the trigger, right?
Yeah, we see all of that. Mhm.
The only challenge I can think of that is we're getting closer to the winter months, and now that's when the bills start
Yeah.
going higher.
But yeah, that's why I was saying that the October bill is the time to get it done in the shoulder month.
Yeah.
So we'll push hard, and again, some people won't catch on right away, and
It'll just be the stragglers that we're gonna have to manage, yeah. Yeah.
cool.
So yes, it
Yes.
looks like we need a vote, correct? Okay.
Wait, I have a question. So if we're not paying the credit, this excess fee, then it's onto them. So like on an average sort of billing cycle, let's say in the winter, how much would someone end up having to pay in addition?
So again, on 100, I mean, you can quantify it however, everybody's
everyone's
bill is different. But again, on $100 bill, it's
It's so-
$3 on $100 bill.
So yeah, I'm also thinking about people being upset or frustrated over this transition. How are we going to, sort of ease that or, help to educate and inform and the winter is coming and last winter was particularly.
I think we need to help.
Yeah.
The key is to give the customer reps the tool to say, you have a few other options.
Yeah.
You can go to EFT, which is just putting your bank account information rather than your credit card number, or you could use your bank's bill pay system. So there are other options that are still somewhat automated that you could use, and will help you through those if you don't. And some may say, I still want the points, and I'll pay the $3.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna stop taking credit cards. We're just gonna say that you will be charged the fee associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, an average winter bill might be just doing the math. Yeah, $400 is about $12. Yeah. So.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I think educating the customer service reps to have a couple of tools to offer, say, hey, you put it on your bank account, or you can, again, use your bank's bill pay system as another option, or you can keep it on your credit card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do I hear a motion?
I can make a motion. I make a motion to change our credit card policy or update our credit card policy so that going forward as of October 1st, credit card fees will be borne by customers that use that form of payment.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Betcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Prifty,
Aye.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Daly,
Aye.
Commissioner Calais, aye. Motion passes. Last item, deposits for low-income customers. Who is taking the lead on this?
I can, since I brought it up.
Thanks.
Just first, before we get started, I realized I had a typo under DPU 220 CM25. It is actually CM27. I must have hit the 7 instead of the 5. Apologies. So this was born out of an email, that came to me. I believe when I was commissioner or not chair, of a low income resident who was coming out of an investor owned utility, was surprised by the deposit, and then there was some poor communication out of customer service as well. With that said, that has all been resolved, but it got me kind of thinking about, right, the barrier for rental deposits, and historically folks that rent tend to potentially be low income, and to get basic services, that's just another thing that's in a barrier for folks to get basic electric and gas and things. So trying to look at ways to reduce that barrier, but also being mindful of the protection of the utility and of bad debt. Pete and Mark, I know I sent over an email asking for additional data, and I know it was last minute, so I'm hoping that you have that and can share. If not,
Yeah, we have some of the data. I guess I'll start with the fact that we've had the policy for many, many years. And there's a couple elements to it. We haven't increased the rental deposit in over 15 years. It's been held the same. The second is that we do provide locations that you can get assistance like Raft, like Leo. There are other places that will help pay the deposit. But I'll just some of the data that Tom is looking for. In terms of liens, customer liens, since 2021, we've liened 29 customers, and that the total of that amount, so that's our homeowners. The total amount that we've liened in that period of time since 2021 is $11,500. On the rental side,
These are all residential, right?
yeah, these are all residential.
yeah, I was only talking about residential.
Yeah, on the rental side, since the same period of time, we've sent to collections, which means they've taken off on us. There have been 98 customers that have done that in that same period of time, and it's cost us $61,680. So
And then just a quick question: do we have, out of the 29 and the 98, do we know how many of those are low income?
We don't, because we don't classify, we provide people that ask it, so we don't rate or count or evaluate. We're not a bank, so we don't know who is or isn't low income. So we have customers that seek help and we help provide guidance to them, but we don't have any qualifications ourselves for what is or isn't low income. So
Okay.
We don't have a rate for low income either, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, our rates are still 50% lower than the IOUs. The IOUs have low income rates that even with that applied are still higher than ours. So
yeah, what I'm thinking, and I'd like to propose and discuss with the commissioners, is not getting rid of the deposit, but reducing the barrier a little bit, is for those customers that are low income identified, and we did do the low income identification based on those parameters for the community solar, and kind of using that same thing, is to not require the full deposit in up front, but to split that deposit up into either 4 or 6 months payments on the bill. And I guess as a final data point, out of those 98 rentals, do we know, did any of those default prior to 6 months?
I don't know that. Do we have a way to get that data?
I doubt it, because like you're just starting the collections process.
Right, yeah. I mean,
so
once they're past 90, they're getting into, so I'm not sure. I guess a couple other pieces of data. Currently, we have on file 3,559 renters that have deposits. And the concern I have with Tom's approach is this becomes a manual process.
Yeah.
So our billing system is not built to do it this way. So
we don't have the ability to take, say $400, for easy math, 4 months, to just put $100 as an extra.
We certainly have the ability to do that, but
absolutely,
it's not an automated process. A customer service rep would have to manually do that.
4 times.
Billing, 4 times. It's not an ability of our billing system to automate that.
How much is the fee for renters and versus
400
versus owners?
There's no deposit for owners because we can lien them.
Not to put Olivia on the spot, but I'm going to put Olivia on the spot. So she was
I'm ready.
involved in billing over the years here and there. So logistically, taking a deposit and slicing it into a number of pieces and putting it on a customer account, can you think of any way other than manually putting putting a payment, like putting a miscellaneous charge on a customer's account, 4 times or something like that. Can you?
Well, actually, thinking about it now to do it the way they're suggesting, I don't even know if that would be possible because the way the system works, you have to put in a deposit request, and that gets completed during the move-in process. So I don't even know if it would be possible to get that allocated $100 a month towards the deposit, or would it just go towards a credit on the account?
Because Sylvia's chomping at the bit too to chime in. So what I'm thinking, because those are two, a deposit and the customer receivable is two separate pots.
Right, that's a really good point.
It's a collection issue.
The customer deposit account is in a completely separate bank account.
Yeah.
It actually
that's the
earns
interest bearing.
Security deposit,
Yes.
rental.
It actually earns interest, and it's the interest is calculated each year. We're given an interest rate on January 6th of each year, or plus or minus.
Yeah. Can you think of any way to do it, Sylvia, that
There isn't. And then the other issue that comes into play is if they are delinquent, and I don't believe you can shut off on the deposit amount. So then if you
receivable for deposit, yeah, that's true too.
yeah, you can't disconnect on that either. So
No,
yeah. And yeah, there's no way to separate them as far as what Pete was saying, as far as the interest goes.
I mean, in theory, I see where you're kind of going with it, Tom, and I mean, in theory, but like to arm wrestle the system into doing.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just concerned. Folks that are low income are already struggling enough, right? If you're coming into a rental, first, last, security, and then another $400, and I appreciate that we haven't raised that, and then on the other side, we have to protect the business, but just kind of looking at ways that we can potentially reduce that burden for folks. And
so a lot of times, Raft or Leo, or there's I could rattle off a number of
any of those organizations.
They'll pay the deposit, you know what I mean, and we'll,
I mean, Robin's very well versed in working with
the right person to the right.
Yeah, the right person to the right agency. So the situation we had with the one person that complained, what happened was she got approval from Raft to pay her deposit. We didn't have it yet. And a new customer service rep didn't handle it properly. Because typically what we do, if we have confirmation that the deposit is coming from Raft, we take care of it.
Even if we don't have the money yet, yeah.
Even if we don't have the money in-house yet.
Yeah.
And we had a new customer service rep who didn't handle that transaction properly. So she complained in the form of a letter. But I'm not really advocating changing a policy that we've had for a long time and adding a lot of manual touches, because I think the chances of us screwing up a whole bunch of manual touches is much greater than the existing.
Is there, to avoid that situation, is there a way that we can improve the customer service experience? Maybe even simply if someone has, like the example Raft coming in, but we don't have the confirmation that automatically goes up to a supervisor to just look at before an email gets sent out, or interaction with the customer.
I'm also curious, when people come, they come in and they ask, about the deposit and all of that, and we provide them resources if they're concerned about paying it, right? Is there any, like, on our website access to that, sort of when people first move in, or like they're looking, I have to sign up to get my utility bill here, or just an easier, accessible, informational page?
To get that additional help, it's a contact.
Yeah, okay.
You do have to, you're not going to be able to do that without talking.
Customized approach.
Yeah.
It's not only that, but
we want to shepherd them through that process.
Right. And so in that case, they would reach out to our specialist, Robin, who would help guide them to the right entity.
Okay.
So
'cause I'm thinking maybe
it's not an automated thing.
Yeah.
Leo might not have adequate funds right now. So look at this one or this one or this one. So the the entities and how we help them, that's a one-off. But again, this happens so infrequently that it's that piece of it being manual is, I don't think automating that is gonna be a benefit.
Because I just think of it, maybe people don't realize they have access to this, this available, cash or money that can pay for their deposit and.
Well, again, it should only be people that truly need it. We don't want to tell every ratepayer that, hey, you can get your.
No, I know, but
covered.
not,
So
not everyone knows that
that's
they
why
have
they have
access
it
to it.
as a manual touch,
Yeah, but I that's something I learned tonight, that I didn't know that the raft and Leo funds could pay,
Yeah.
count towards the deposit.
Mhm.
So I just thought it was for bills.
Just fuel.
Fuel.
The typical, so they expanded it,
Okay.
a few years ago, maybe 5,
So-
7 years ago, because it used to be called fuel assistance.
Yes, and I know we have that information
Right.
about the programs on our website, but to your point, when people are looking to sign up, is there a link to that so people know that?
No, I mean, we could look at whether it's appropriate or where to put it, but
Or just a notation saying that if you need assistance with
Yeah.
the deposit, contact Raft or Leo.
I'd be more comfortable with contact us.
yeah.
Or contact, okay, something to the effect that
Yeah.
people know that there is a resource there.
Yeah, but I think also on discussing this topic too, some people don't feel comfortable reaching out actively to get these resources. If they know about it in their own time, in their privacy, they might be more open to going through the process than talking to someone directly about it. Because, being low income, there's a lot of hardship and personal impact to knowing this or to even think about that. I've been myself on SNAP when I went through college and all of that. And it's difficult, so my friends, and, you don't want to talk about it. Some people are very private and it can be difficult. So finding ways to allow people to access these resources where it's not so direct.
Would they need to contact us in order to apply, or could they apply directly?
But they definitely can apply directly, and we're going to give them the biggest bang for their buck. We're going to give them the best resources available. Yeah, so that's why we want to be involved in the
So
process.
it's advantageous for them to go through us.
And if we're involved in the process, we can get that notification that this person has been approved.
Right.
And sometimes,
At some point,
the
they're gonna have
approval.
to come through us.
Yeah,
But
sometimes,
just a way to.
sometimes there's an extended period of time between when the approval happens and the check rolls in.
So if they're not communicating with us, we can't.
Facilitate.
We don't know where they are in the process.
We can't, in the case that Tom cited that created the letter, I don't think I think I asked Olivia, we just got the deposit. And so the customer was just made whole, but the process, this all started a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. It would be great, I think, I know this is just to have a notation on our website saying that if you do need help with the deposit, reach out to.
We have
Definitely.
these resources, yeah.
We can put a blurb on there. Absolutely. In the customer application area when when the new
Yeah.
customer's applying for service, that type of thing. You can probably make it part of the service app.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Service app.
be good.
Can we? Can we do that? Can we do that, Joey?
Yeah, we can put like a little note at the bottom. We can either do it at the top or the very bottom. Just say if you need assistance, reach out to whomever is decided upon. But yes, we definitely can do that.
And then I guess I'm curious for those who are still struggling, let's say to pay their utility bills and they're still at this certain level financially, do these resources cover at that, and they might have already put the deposit in, does it still cover over to that if they're still, at a.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think the way it works is once you're in with a funding source, they'll cover your deposit and then they pay.
Mhm.
To the extent they can.
Sliding scale, they'll pay something to
All
bill.
the services help you at a certain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be really beneficial information. Let's say we have someone that's, on our service who is low income, and it'd be great if they could, have a way to use that money in other capacity for their life. Yeah.
I think that Yeah. I mean, I didn't know about the deposit, but in general, I think that I'm hoping that people who need that kind of assistance know that they can use those services to offset their bill. I think that's
The most important, yeah.
we have that information on our website.
Yeah. And that back and forth of that discussion happens between, Leo or the funding source and the customer. We're not involved in that part of the conversation.
We don't
Then making the,
judge whether people.
we make the connection.
Oh, the connection is the part, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That's
educators.
our role in
Mhm.
it, yeah.
So.
Okay. Is there anything else on this topic?
Well, so yeah, it sounds like we won't be moving forward with the splitting of the deposits because of the difficulties on our software. Mhm.
Yeah, and I guess maybe, if there's any opportunity that goes away, that, we can potentially revisit that. I think we should always be striving to, kind of lower some of those social economic barriers that exist, and just kind of keeping those things in mind.
Definitely, because talking to some residents, we have residents in Wakefield who have been renters their entire lives. They're in their 80s, and yeah, still, continued renters, never being able to access or, that transition into home ownership. Definitely see that point of view. And I think we are agreeing to find ways, show those resources so new customer can have that access.
Good point.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing that up, Tom.
No problem.
Okay. We're at the end of the formal agenda. Any other matter not reasonably anticipated?
Came up from work, and I promised them I'll bring them up here, but has there ever been like a mutual aid or storm support to any IOUs from municipals?
When I first got here, we helped out Eversource a few times because I had come from there.
Had the contact.
Yeah. So we sent crews to the Eversource site. Trying to think of National Grid if we'd ever sent any to National Grid side.
Would you guys be open?
Yeah.
For it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we helped out National Eversource maybe 3 or 4 times. They became a barrier because of all the paperwork and so we've stopped helping them more recently because it became like, I'm trying to help you. And you sent me like a 12-page document. I'm like,
fill out,
yeah.
Okay.
So, but we're definitely always open to, our guys love to go on mutual aid. So, yeah.
There's, we just have a different model, right? So I know that NEPA was requested by IOUs to participate in the mutual aid, the Muni mutual aid program, and that didn't work out through NEPA. One of the barriers is the way that the different municipalities plan for that versus the IOUs. The IOUs prepare for storm events days in advance and reach out to everyone. The municipalities, they hire as needed and put out call requests for emergencies. So if you were to draw down the available resources, anticipating the need for IOUs, you would limit the available resources for an emergency if we had one within the Muni world.
Yeah, it would have to be after
the event. Yeah. I'm more thinking, Dave, if let's say National Grid had 100 crews on hand and the storm hit, we need another 100. Instead of us going to Canada to bring in 100 crews from there, which that's usually where we get them from, could we utilize the local resources after you guys and the other munis have already taken care of your own system?
Yeah, I think that's the key point. If it's after the NEPA requirements and the local requirements are met, and then
we'd really have to iron out where the request goes. Right now, all the requests go through NEPA, and they use the system to make the requests. because the storms in the Northeast and also it's other storms that are regional they put out. It could be in the, you know, the Northeast, or it could be in the mid coast or the South. So it all depends on where co-ops and municipalities are impacted by storms. So, you know, in the past, like Pete said, some would come directly to us because we had relationships with them, but then it shifted over to try to do it through NEPA, through their mutual aid.
Yeah.
And that became a bit of a challenge. There was some opposition or concerns because of the impact it might have. Just you know, just so you're aware.
Okay.
I know Braintree's helped out Eversource a lot more frequently than we did because of the WMGLD relationship.
Yeah, it was a relationship there for sure.
Yeah.
And some munis have the ability because they have larger staffing. Some are very small, you know, so it depends. Some are very, very small.
Yeah.
But
So are we required to go through NEPA, or can we make a decision to provide mutual aid to?
Oh, well, typically now we're part of the NEPA mutual aid system. So we would need to make sure if we're going to send it. There are also individual transactions that take place that don't go through NEPA. For example,
We still have that.
someone's doing a job in Groveland, they ask Groveland to help. That doesn't go through NEPA. So there is the ability to still work individually with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Planned work.
Yeah.
Planned work only.
Well, no, but I mean, request help.
Okay.
It was helpful.
I see.
The bigger issue.
The microburst we had a couple of years ago. I remember, at least in my neighborhood, it was somebody from Georgetown that came in.
We had Georgetown Cruise, Middleton Cruise, Danvers. I think that was it. Yeah.
And then we put a call out for that. So we put a call through NEPA, and they do outbound calling and they request resources. So we make a request for X number of resources. They do the outbound notifications, and all the municipals respond.
Yeah.
And then once they fulfill the request, they notify us, and then they have them contact whoever, might be me, but they would do that. So there's a process in the muni world for how mutual aid is handled.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
Yep, thank you. Oh, and then I was curious with the national grid and the substations, our meters, they own our meters, right? Or do we own our meters in the connection?
It's split.
Grid split, okay.
Yeah. So BB is one, and then Wallace is different. So it's split.
Okay, yeah, because I remember, I think they were discussing it during the MWIC convention about ownership of meters and access to sort of in the moment information if anything came up. And sometimes if it's owned by, another company like National Grid, that access to information can lag. So I was just curious, yeah.
I think I brought that up
Yeah.
at our last meeting, and I think, Dave, you said that we were going to try to have National Grid.
Yeah, I talked to Joe Murphy from National Grid. So Joe actually asked he asked the question to be consistent. So I think he's looking at all his customers to see how they're set up, and then they're, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. They were just for consistency. They would take ownership, or if we wanted to be responsible for the meters. But I think his offer was that they could take ownership for both substations for the meters.
There's only two.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that if we were having problems,
then
and there was a significant lag in getting that information, then we would own them. But if we're not having those issues,
We haven't been having them at this point.
No.
Yeah.
it makes sense just to have them both be serviced by one entity.
And split, yeah.
I don't see the downside. I'll talk to Jason more about it. I don't see the downside with having National Grid have responsibility of the meters, but I can get Jason's opinion from MWIC as well. But
I think Jason at the meeting was advocating the opposite.
Yeah, that's why I was curious.
He was advocating that we own the meter.
Yep.
So, but there's a bigger issue associated with that, and it's the whole backflow onto the transmission system and whether there's the ability to get credit for that. So that's part of the larger discussion. If it meant that we had more flexibility with not just having to meet bus demand, but actually we could get credit for energy that flows back onto the transmission system.
Okay.
But that meant the National Grid wanted to own the meter. There's a balance in that discussion. So if National Grid says, yeah, we'll credit you for kilowatt hours that end up flowing back on transmission, but we need to own the meter. So that's all part of the discussion.
Okay, yeah, I see.
And that's consistent with a lot of other municipalities that own some type of generation as well.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, that clarifies.
Okay. I think we're through our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the July 15 meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Prifty.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Daly.
Aye.
Commissioner Betcher.
Aye.
Commissioner Calais. We are adjourned and it is 9:18. All right. Pretty good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for participating.
Thank you.